up the orders of magnitude of power in their reasoning about mathematical
What if
proofs.
humanity has already discovered the optimal form of government through a evolutionary process,
Yeah,
right? There
that
is
could
an
be, very
evolution
well
going
could
on.
be.
And so what we discover is that maybe the problem of government doesn't have stable solutions for us
Right.
as a species because we are not designed in such a way that we can make everybody conform to them. So, but there could be solutions that work under given circumstances or that are the best for a certain environment. It depends on, for instance, the primary forms of ownership and the means of production. So if the main means of production is land,
Yeah.
then the forms of government will be regulated by the landowners and you get a monarchy. If you also want to have a form of government in which you depend on some form of slavery, for instance, where the peasants have to work very long hours for very little gain, so very few people can have plumbing,
Mhm.
then maybe you need to promise them that to get paid in the afterlife, the overtime, right? So you need a theocracy. And so for much of human history in the West, we had a combination of monarchy and theocracy. That was our form of governance, right? At the same time, the Catholic Church implemented game theoretic principles. I
Right.
recently reread Thomas Aquinas.
Uh-huh.
It's very interesting to see this because he was not a dualist. He was translating Aristotle in a particular way for designing an operating system for the Catholic society.
Uh-huh.
And he says that basically people are animals, and very much the same way as Aristotle envisions, which basically organisms with cybernetic control. And then he says that there are additional rational principles that humans can discover, and everybody can discover them, so they are universal. If you are sane, you should understand, you should submit to them because you can rationally deduce them. And these principles are roughly you should be willing to self regulate correctly. You should be willing to do correct social regulation, it's intraorganismic.
Mhm.
You should be willing to act on your models, so you have skin in the game. Um, and you should have goal rationality. You should be choosing the right goals to work on. And so basically, these three rational principles: goal rationality, he calls prudence or wisdom.
Mhm.
Social regulation is justice, the correct social one, and the internal regulation is temperance. And this thing, the willingness to act on your models, is courage.
Mhm.
And then he says that there are, additionally to these four cardinal virtues, three divine virtues. And these three divine virtues cannot be rationally deduced, but they reveal themselves by the harmony, which means if you assume them and you extrapolate what's going to happen,
Mhm.
you will see that they make sense. And it's often been misunderstood as God has to tell you that these are the things. So there's something nefarious going on. The Christian conspiracy forces you to believe some guy with a long beard that they discovered this. But